come on in and welcome to this Ready to Love, a special edition of my recap. And this is actually going to be another exit interview. You know how I like to watch these exit interviews of the cast once they get booted off the show, because I want to hear who they really are, since everyone says they got bad edits. And so this time we are watching their interview for Jonique. And this time I actually watched the interview on another YouTube station. I watched it on a YouTube channel with a young lady named Stephanie Rivers. She did an interview with Jonique and I actually enjoyed it. I thought she asked Jonique some good questions, and I actually was able to learn a little bit more about Jonique. And so normally what I do is I say, well, did Jonique get a good edit or did she get a bad edit on the show? So here's what I'm going to tell you, folks. I think it's sort of a mixed bag. I think that some of the parts we saw of Jonique, I do think that's pretty much Jonique. So in that way, I can't say she got a bad edit. But I can also say there were a lot of parts about Jonique that we didn't get to see. And in that respect, I think we got a bad edit. So I think that the parts that we saw about Jonique, I think I still kind of believe some of those things. But there was also a lot we didn't see about Jonique. Remember during the season, I think I used a few words to describe Jonique. Rough around the edges, that she could use a little bit more tact. I wanted her to smile more, be less serious. And after I watched this interview with her, honestly, I kind of have some of the same feelings. But the part that we did get to see in this interview that we didn't get to see on the show was how successful she is in business, how smart she is. And even on the show, I knew that she was very articulate, and you know, she can string together some words, and in fact, she's even more so of it. Jonique could be a motivational speaker. Jonique could be a life coach. And in fact, on this interview, she said she used to do some life coaching. I could see Jonique being a life coach. I could see her being a motivational coach. I could see her inspiring young women to go after it, to be bosses, to be sort of all those things. Because there was a couple of times when she was talking, I was like, yeah, Jonique, go girl, go Jonique. But I'm gonna tell you, there's another couple of times throughout the interview, and especially towards the interview, where I was like, ugh. Now that part about Jonique, that part makes me a little bit worried when she's out in the dating world. Now here's what we do know about Jonique. We don't need to really give her no advice on getting a man, because Jonique already got a man. Jonique says she got a man already, people, so you don't need to give her no advice. And in fact, she started dating a man when she was actually filming, or she met him. Let's say this. She met the man while she was filming Ready to Love. And then after Ready to Love was done filming, she was able to spend a lot more time with him. And she says this man is everything that she wants. One thing she complained about with Ready to Love was that the men were too old for her. And if you remember, she told Blue, Blue can't handle all this. Blue can't handle all this. That's what she told Blue. And so they weren't able to handle everything that Jonique was dishing out. And so now she got her new man. He's more in line with who she is, which is an entrepreneur. She's an entrepreneur through and through, in her bones, in her blood, as she says it. She always knew she was going to be an entrepreneur, and she is living her dream. She says she runs several, did she say 7-figure businesses or 6-figure businesses? I think she said 7 figures, which is, $1 million plus. So she said she runs plenty of them. She owns houses in Maryland. She owns a house in DC. She owns a house in, where she owns a house? Maryland, DC, Atlanta? No, because Miami's in there. I can't remember what she said. Hold on a sec. She owns a house in Miami, DC, and Atlanta. So she says she's got her hand in several different industries: real estate, acquiring properties. She does angel investing. Her bread and butter, though, is in the software distribution company that she owns. She does rights and licenses to software. She said that originally, after she got her bachelor's and master's degree, she used to work for a defense contract company or something. She was like a strategic planner for public relations and communication strategy. I can see all that. She's, like I said, she knows how to put together some sentences. Some people can put together one or two sentences and string them together and sound intelligent. Jonique can put together about 20 sentences. And let me tell you, she is on point. She's on point. I don't know. I would really want her to represent me in something. You know, one thing about these different seasons, that's why I like the actor interviews, because you really do learn more about the people. And I know that the show can't capture all of this during the season, and I don't expect them to. So we actually definitely learned a lot more about Jonique. We also learned from Jonique that they were going out on dates every single day, 6 days a week. This is how rigorous the filming schedule was. She told us about that. She said they filmed 15 hours a day. So even when we saw small snippets of them meeting each other, they actually had a lot more to talk about. Jonique made it pretty clear that she was never really interested in any of the men, that they weren't her type. Now that's different from when she sat down at that table. Remember when she first came on as a wild card and somebody asked her type and she says, I don't have a type. And now we know that was her corporate answer. Because now on this interview, she says she absolutely has a type and none of these men were her type. So she definitely gave the corporate answer at the table when she first came in and sit down with everyone. And everyone was trying to pin her down with a type. Or was that Cynthia? I can't remember now. But she definitely said she has a type and these men weren't her type. She said she's not used to dating men this many years older than her. I mean, I pretty much knew early on that Jonique's guy was not on this show. But one of the things I actually also want to look at is why weren't any of the men interested in Jonique? I understand why Jonique wasn't interested in them, because she was saying that she really don't want a 9-to-5 man. That's one of the things she said. She says because she's an entrepreneur and she wants to be paired up or matched with a man who understands her lifestyle of moving around the entrepreneurial world. And that's what her current man is, an entrepreneur. So she likes that about him. So she felt none of the men on the show were really her match, not only because of their age, they had kids, she doesn't have kids, they weren't entrepreneurs. It's a list of things why she wasn't interested in them. But my question also would be, why weren't any of the men interested in Jonique? And I think this comes back to what I was talking about earlier on. Like I said, there's pluses and minuses to all of us. We all got good things about us and bad things about us. Or things, they're not really bad things, but there are things that maybe we could improve about ourselves so that we are appealing maybe to another variety of people that we might be trying to connect with. Because in the dating world, you actually do want to increase your options. You don't always want to just be limited in your options. And if you are limiting your options, you want that to come from you saying no to people, not because those people aren't even interested in liking you or putting a bid in you. And the one thing we have to say about Jonique is there really weren't any men who were looking for her. And even though they were old, let me tell you, there's no shortage of older men are looking for younger women. So we have to ask ourselves, why didn't any of the men find Jonique worthy of chasing? Not just why she didn't like them, but why did any of the men find Jonique worthy of chasing? And I'm going to tell you, I think this goes back to what I said earlier, that she really is this mix between education, success in business, but a little bit rough around the edge and ratchet. I don't know, maybe is she a Megan Thee Stallion, y'all? Is she a Megan Thee Stallion? And here's the thing, Jonique really complained and said that her image wasn't portrayed correctly on the show because they didn't show, like she said, they didn't show her family roots, how family oriented she is. And even when she said she likes to turn up and go home and drink, she said it. I mean, they couldn't edit that. She did say it, but she was saying, oh, well, it was said in context with a bigger conversation. Well, it doesn't matter. You still said it. Even if I'm talking about myself and what I like to do on the weekend, there's no point in my conversation where I would say I like to turn up and drink with my family at home and kick it with my family. It would just never happen. So they would never get the opportunity to edit that part of my speech. But I believe that is a part of Jonique. But here's my question about people, not just Jonique, when they talk about their bad edits and what gets presented versus who they are. Now, at the end of the interview, they showed Jonique's IG page. The young lady put it up and she told us what her IG page was. And typically, I never really go to people's IG pages and troll them or scroll through pages. I just don't. I definitely don't troll or write comments. But since the lady put it up, I did decide to go to Jonique's IG page. And it really is simply like her name. So if you want to search on it, just do her name. And I want to say this. Her IG page, which is the page she is in control of, more matched the edit on Ready to Love. It didn't match the image of when she was telling us about her multiple businesses or how family oriented she is or how educated she is or how she does motivational speaking or she inspires women. Her page was turning up, booty shots, bikini shots, luxury, posing. It was more of what I saw in Ready to Love. So here's my question. If Ready to Love was a bad edit and it didn't show all these parts of you, then why would your IG page mimic what Ready to Love showed? This is what I didn't understand. This is what left me confused about the whole Jonique interview. Because I saw all these different parts of her, and then I heard her say she didn't like the way that she was portrayed on the show. But yet when I go to her IG page, which is her brand, which is her ability to control her brand, control her own editing, and it actually mimicked more of what Ready to Love was doing. I don't know. I know IG, how people use IG differently out here, but I do think IG is supposed to be your brand. I don't know if people need to have a different IG pages and one for work, of course, one for business, one for their personal life, and maybe one for when they're trying to attract a husband. Because Jonique is looking to settle down, get married, and have a husband. And I'm going to tell you, that IG page doesn't show much about why I would choose her for a wife. It's not showing those qualities. It's not showing the qualities that I would think a man would be shopping for in wife material. She's beautiful. She shows all her assets and all that other kind of stuff. But I'm like, if you are trying to go to a certain level, shouldn't your brand also talk about the things that are needed for that level? So I don't know. I would just probably go through. My only advice for Jonique would go back through and maybe redo her IG page so that her IG page actually shows a lot more of who she is. Because I know IG is there, they're thirst traps. Is that what women use it for? Thirst traps to get men? That's what it reminded me of. Her IG page reminded me more of a thirst trap. That's really what it did. And it was unfortunate because I had just listened to a whole half hour of this woman who, like I said, could be a motivational speaker. She could be a coach. She's smart. She's got 2 degrees. She's running multiple businesses. She owns 3 homes around the country. And yet her IG page was a thirst trap. It was a bit disappointing, y'all. It was a bit disappointing. I mean, Jonique keeps it real. I remember that day she had with Blake, and I was saying, "Ooh, Jonique, you don't need to have to be that direct, that matter of fact, and give that man's a broccoli a 3, and his salmon I don't know. I think she gave it a 7. You didn't have to say all that." And I think Jonique is so direct. Jonique is so a matter of fact that sometimes it actually can come off not abrasive, but it can be too much chest in it. I don't know. Some of you guys are better with words than I am. Tell me down below, what is it? What is this thing that I'm trying to put my finger on with Jonique that makes you step back from her? It doesn't draw you in. She's smart, she's intelligent, she says all the right things, but when she does start speaking, it makes me want to go like this because I feel like it's coming at me a little bit too hard, a little bit too forceful. And the truth of the matter is, you need to actually, in dating, you need to be able to draw people in. You know, we look at Jeffrey. As much as I talk about her, she has that ability to draw men in. Okay, even if those men are not right for her, she has an ability that makes some men come closer to her. There's a part of Jonique that no matter how smart she is, how beautiful she is, how good looking, how big her booty is, how much money she has, when she does speak, there's a part that I think makes you go like this a little bit. Maybe it's almost like the boom is a little bit too much. It's almost like slow it down just a little bit because I want to vibe with you, but maybe can you turn it down or just maybe a little bit? There is something, I don't know. I'm going to need you guys' help on this because I can't really find the right words to describe it. But there is something, and I think that is a part of why a lot of men backed up from Jonique, and maybe they didn't find out about all these other things about her because in the first initial interaction with her, it made them step back a little bit. Even Tony the Tiger said he liked Jonique, but there was something about Jonique. He said it was her age. I'm not for sure that was it, but it was something about Jonique that made him a pause. He wasn't really ready to leap on her completely. She really admitted that there were no guys she had connections with. She said she mentioned Tony kind of like in passing. She mentioned Lyndon, that they had fun, but it was more of a friend zone kind of thing. As it is, everybody with Lyndon is a friend zone. She was no different. And then she spoke a lot about this date with Blake as well. She can't stand Blake. She despises Blake. But you know what? She gave us a little bit more insight on what happened on that elimination. And she said that Sue Ann was supposed to be the one that went home. But what happened was Blake stood up to production and said, if you guys send Sue Ann home, he's going to quit. And we all know that production likes Blake because Blake is good for TV. So Blake flexed his muscle and said, hey, if you send Sue Ann home, I'm going to go home too. Which is no different from a lot of people, which is they self-eliminate, right? After their one connection leaves, they self-eliminate. So Blake was basically saying, if you eliminate Sue Ann, then I'm a self-eliminate. And production didn't want Blake to go home so soon. So what Jonique said was that she ended up going home instead of Sue Ann. Well, here's where I'm going to correct Jonique just a little bit. Because she was trying to put a lot of the blame on Blake. And in fact, she said that was where a lot of the hostility came from not only her being upset, but all the women being upset, including Morgan. And she said that's also why Morgan went in on Blake so much at their little one-on-one dinner. Well, I'm going to step in a little bit here, a little bit too much, and say, well, no, you can't put that all on Blake because he flexed his muscles. He flexed his muscles and said, if you make Sue Ann go home, I'm going to go home. Because Blake actually has a point, and that point is, no matter how much we don't like him, he did have a connection. Even if you believe his connection is fake, he had a woman who was willing to stand up for him and say that he was her number one connection. Jonique didn't have that. Jonique had no one saying she was their number one, and she didn't have any number one guy. So I'm not for sure Sue Ann should have gone home besides Jonique. And the other reason why I'm not going to put all the blame on Blake is because the men had to save. So even if they chose Jonique to get eliminated, the men had a decision to save Jonique. And no one saved her. This goes back to what I'm saying. What makes the men step back from Jonique? Step back so far from Jonique that they weren't even willing to save her. They were willing to let that save go to waste than to use it on Jonique. So that's what I'm saying. Jonique's thing in the dating world, because one thing she said is she likes to learn from every situation. So if Jonique is listening, I think Jonique needs to think about this question. What is it about her that made the men, even if you don't like the men, even if the men were too old for you, why weren't those men willing to spend their save on you. What is it about your dating style, how you interact with men, how you come across that didn't want them saving you? They didn't want to rescue you. Let's put it that way. They didn't want to rescue you. You didn't need to be rescued. You didn't need to be saved. That there, when a man don't want to come to your defense, when men don't want to look at you as a damsel in distress, when men don't want to help you out, that right there is telling you that there's a part of you that's coming off where you don't need to be saved, where you don't need any help, where you don't need to be taken care of. I can tell you right now, if that was Jeffrey, they would have saved Jeffrey. They would have saved Jeffrey. Even men that didn't maybe necessarily find Jeffrey, besides Blake, of course, they would have saved Jeffrey. Because Jeffrey comes off as saying, I need help, I need assistance, I need to be saved, I need a hero. As she says, I need a leader, a provider, and a protector. I'm wondering if Jonique comes off as, I don't need any of these people. Even if you don't like them for a romantic partner, does she come off as, I don't need any of these people? None of them. There was one soft moment in the whole season where she started crying with Tony, and it seems like it was just a bubbling up of emotion. That soft side of Jonique. I would want to see more of that Jonique in dating. That's the one I would want to see more in dating. She don't need to be crying and blubbering and all that, but I would want to see more of that. Not the business side of Jonique, not the more saying it with your chest part of Jonique. I think she does need to add a little bit of that back into her dating. And even though she's got a man, she needs to add that back into how she interacts with her man. So that man can feel as if Jonique needs to be protected and cared for and provided for and covered. I think she needs that. Jonique says she comes from a very traditional household. She says her mother and father are still together. She says her siblings are married. She says all her aunts and uncles are married. So she comes from a family where marriage is all around her. So she has a lot of people that she can go to. She has a lot of marriages that she can study. And I think that she might want to look at those marriages, those people, those couples, and see if there's any differentiation between her and them. To see if those people, because they're married and coupled up, if they have very different ways in which they date or how they pair up with people that's different from her. She may be a lot more successful than them in life, in business, and in other areas with multiple cars and multiple businesses and multiple houses. But what is it about those people that's making them more successful in relationships? And that's what she needs to learn how to mimic. She's a smart girl. If she decides to do that, she can get to where she's going. But she also has to recognize that there are things that she needs to do, and she just can't say, I'm going to be accepted for who I am, and I just have to keep finding a person to accept me for who I am. No, she needs to say exactly what she said, which is she likes to grow and learn from every situation. And when you're ready to grow and learn from every situation, that means you also have to figure out, what didn't I do right, or what can I do better? That's what and I didn't hear that in the interview. I didn't hear from her what she could have done better and what she could have done differently, so that she could have had more men who were interested in her. Even if she weren't interested in them, why didn't she get more offers? Why didn't they use that save on her? Why wasn't she worthy of saving? But she said she got her own man. You know, he came down for Valentine's Day because I guess he lives in DC, so they're kind of semi-long distance. I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't last long, because I'm telling you, a long distance relationships, they do not work unless you have a time period on it where you're going to actually be together. But she said he comes down, she goes there because she has a house. They had a whole week of Valentine's Day, roses, helicopter rides, special dinners. So she seems like they have a lot of things in common, so I wish her well. I hope it goes well. But even the things I talked about on this video, I think they can help her in her dating situation, even with that gentleman. So in the end, I would say that Jonique, you know what? She got a good and a bad at it. I think the parts we saw of her, I don't think that I saw anything about her that I didn't believe. I think she is a little bit, rough around the edges. I think there are parts of her I think that she can sort of smooth out a little bit more. And I think there's parts of her where she can soften it up just a little bit. But I already knew that she was intelligent because I could tell the way that she could speak and express herself in conversation, that she was very intellectually capable, and I got more proof of that in this interview. But that's it, y'all. If you didn't get a chance to watch the interview, definitely pop over to the YouTube station of what is her name? Goodness, Stephanie Rivers, and watch this. About 30 minutes long. And I will talk to you guys later. Drop down the comments. Let me know. Bye.